is not only just the Mariah May ending, but the Owen Hart Memorial Cup as a whole. In years past, it wasn't something I really cared about. To me, it just was kind of a side quest
Mm-hmm.
in the AEW storyline and show. So I don't really care that Willow Nightingale was trying to become a 2-time champion this year, because before, like, what did it get you? It was just a side tournament, like, never meant anything. Well, now it means something with
Mm-hmm.
both the AEW men's and women's championships being on the line in the main events, respectively, at All in Wembley. The Mariah May ending to this, obviously, she picks up the victory against Willow Nightingale, and as she's going to up the ramp to grab the trophy and belt, timeless Toni Storm, her mentor, follows her. But what happens? Mariah May knocks her over the face with the belt, and she becomes a bloody mess, turning on Toni Storm and building to their match she was going to be facing. If anyone who doesn't know, it's now Mariah May and Toni Storm for the Women's World Championship at All in Wembley. And I love this because for so long, Sarah, we've talked about how poor the women's division is in AEW. And since then, we've seen, at least I have it, I've seen so much growth to the point where I'm more invested in this feud than some of the men's feuds that are
Mm-hmm.
going. And that is your job in the women's division.
Yeah. Well, and I think as Crazy said, that this has been a storyline for a while. Obviously, Toni Storm has been in this character for longer, but as, almost as soon as Mariah debuted in AEW, she was immediately put with Toni, and they've had like a roller coaster storyline in the months since then. So this is like a big story payoff that you don't get to see a lot in wrestling, just because Vince wasn't always the biggest fan of that, of like kind of rewarding the fans for watching on a weekly basis or getting invested in a story, or, hey, remember this, and we're seeing a little bit more of that in WWE with Triple H, but it's good to see that AEW is doing that because people have really enjoyed what Toni has been doing, and then of course everything else that has come with this character. So Mariah, whether it's because she's like, all right, I have a title shot, like now we're equal, you're not my mentor, or we could find out that maybe the entire time she was only using Toni to get to this spot. You don't know.
Yeah.
But it's good to see that the fans are being rewarded for vocalizing their support for the character in the story, and being now they're going to have a big match to pay attention to, and a story that can go in so many different directions now, which I think is exciting for them.
It's nice. It could have been all along that
Mm-hmm.
Mariah May was just using Toni Storm, because in her first appearance on Dynamite, when they're interviewing her, she name drops Toni Storm
Yeah.
and says, "I'm a fan." So if that's the case, then AEW may have just found their best feud in recent time, and
Long-term
that's
payoff.
like they need to start doing it. And flipping over to the men's side of
Well,
things,
can I say one more thing?
yes,
It's I think that the something that's kind of going under the radar, I would say, that is a good part of this, is we've talked so much about in women's wrestling in general that there needs to
mm,
be more stories and feuds and whatever that have depth to them that do not involve the title.
like
And like this whole thing with Mariah and Toni was a storyline that didn't involve the title. Now it is, but it makes sense because the story is
the build up,
um
yeah.
but I think that's like an important aspect that I don't think enough people are talking about, because the women are kind of put into a box where they're only given interesting storylines if it involves them becoming champion or trying to become or retain their title. There's never anything beyond that. And I think that's cool too, that's another way, I guess, that the fans are being rewarded. Is like, okay, you actually were paying attention to this story and you were interested in it, but it didn't all revolve around, you know, one of the girls trying to take the title from Toni. It was like they were all the champion, you know, and now it's shifting, which I think it's been enough time that it makes sense for it to shift into that.